Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you what my worst reads for 2022 were or are. I recently uploaded my favourite novels of 2022, so if you're interested, please check that out. I'll have it linked down below. But as I said in that video, and I'm going to say it in this video, this is going to be only my personal opinions. If you liked any of these books, that is great. You are entitled to have your opinion. But for this video, right here, right now, this is only going to be my own thoughts and feelings regarding these books. And as you can imagine, I didn't really like any of these books. Despite, I suppose there's one on this list which I wouldn't mind giving another try. But right now, all these books I would recommend that you read on the toilet. They were, in my personal opinion, terrible. And like my favourites list, this is not going to be in any specific order. So it's not going to start with the least horrible to the absolute trash book of the year. So the first one is called Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Core. This book had so much promise. It really did. A horror book set in Japanese mythology. How could you go wrong with that premise? It sounded epic. I'm a big Jinchuriki fan and I want to actually read a good horror book that's set in the Japanese mythology. But this book wasn't that great. The characters were unforgettable. I didn't care about any of them. I suppose the one redeeming quality about it is the actual monster called the Bride, I think that she is. The monster on the cover of the book. I liked it how it was like a real monster that was skulking around and observing our characters. And it was really creepy, but the overall story was lacking. It really was. This should have been longer. This shouldn't have been a novella. This should have been at least a 300-page book. It would have benefited it extremely if this was an actual full-length novel. I suppose I wouldn't mind giving this book a reread. I know some people like it, but for me it was a massive disappointment. The next one was The Beauty by Alia Whiteley. Probably said her first name completely wrong. I got a copy of this book in the sales section in the Forbidden Planet, which is a comic book shop which sells graphic novels, comics of course, and books and all things nerd related. And this was in the sales section, the clearance section. And it was massively reduced. I picked it up. The cover looked really interesting. I no longer have it, so I do not know whether the cover on the screen matches the copy that I had. But I read the back of it and it sounded really interesting, about a group of guys that are in this world where females are no longer there. I do not know whether they are all dead or in a state of hibernation. But every single night they retell stories about females, about the ladies that were in their life. And this sounded really interesting. I was thinking, okay, cool, this would actually really be really interesting. I mean, what would a society be without females? But I read the book. It was extremely boring. It really was. I can't remember hardly anything about it. The writing style, if I could remember it, was probably nothing to write home about, and I will probably never ever read anything from this author ever again unless somebody that I trust on BookTube and their opinion convinces me otherwise. But right now, The Beauty was a really unforgettable and terrible book. Next was Stumps by Mark Morris. This is a book that I got in one of my Abominable Book Club boxes, which is a monthly horror/thriller subscription box I get every single month. And I knew going into this that this was a child's YA book. and yeah, which is fine. Which is fine. There are a lot of YA books out there that an adult could read that are enjoyable, but this unfortunately wasn't one of them. I can't remember much about this book. I do know that it's about a family that move into this house, and there are all these tree stumps, all these trees that were around the house, and they were cut down, and so they have left all these stumps around. Can't remember if the stumps actually did anything to harm the family or do any damage or danger, or whether they were just mysteriously appearing for no apparent reason. Yeah, it was fine. It was fine, but it wasn't that great. This next book is one that I feel is going to split a lot of people. I find that some people like this book and some people don't like this book. And that is Hex by Thomas Old Huvelt, or Huvelt. Not sure how you pronounce his surname. But this is about a town that is cursed with a witch that they have somehow restrained. She has had her eyes and mouth sewn shut, and she's all chained up, and she is freely able to walk around and maneuver herself around the town, and everyone in the town knows that this witch is doing this, and they've even set up all these surveillance cameras and apps to monitor where she is. And the reason why the town has done this to this witch is because first off, she's a witch and she's supposed to be evil, but they have done this to her because of what she has done in the past. And it's implied that if her eyes and mouth are open again, then all hell will break loose. And I know that she can appear and disappear at will for unknown reasons, and in unknown locations for unknown reasons. And I know people find that really, really scary about when you're in the room late at night and suddenly you wake up and you see this figure standing over you. But for the most part, she doesn't really do anything to harm anyone. And that was the biggest disappointment for me, because you actually have this witch and they want her to be like this real evil creature, this real evil hag that is a massive threat to the town, and she isn't. In fact, the book kind of leans to the side of the town and the residents of that town being more evil than the witch. But I read this as a buddy read with Mr. Morningstar, and despite us both hating the book, it was more entertaining and less of a struggle to get through reading this with someone else. But Hex wasn't that great. It was really, really bad, and I don't think I'm ever going to read anything from this author ever again. And lastly was The Snowman by R.L. Stine, and being someone that grew up reading R.L. Stine, I mean, the first ever book I remember reading was an R.L. Stine book. So I have got a very nostalgic hook and grasp on R.L. Stine. He's very nostalgic for me. And it was very, very hard for me to put one of his books on my worst list. But The Snowman was a massive disappointment, as I suppose it was me having higher expectations or hopes what the story was going to be about. I thought it was going to be about a killer snowman, kind of like somebody had their soul trapped in a snowman and the snowman came to life and started killing people within the town or village or whatever. But it was about a moany, privileged girl that was complaining about her life and family and all that stuff. And she fell in love with the wrong type of guy that turned out to be more than what he appeared to be. And in my personal opinion, it wasn't a horror book. It was more of a thriller than a horror book. But yeah, it was just a disappointment for me, really. And yeah, just how it goes sometimes. So guys, that has been my worst list of 2022. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Have you heard any of these books? What did you think about them? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Let's have a discussion about it down below in the comments. Who knows? Maybe you could change my mind and convince me that these books are worth another reread and another try. And please do not forget to check out my favourite lists of 2022 as well. Just a reminder, link will be down below. So with all that out of the way, have a great day and I'll see you in my next one.